Hi, Steve Johann here from Horsepower Chrome and Rust Show, welcoming you to the Windshield View. We interview some of the coolest people in the world of cars, and in this week's episode, we chat with Bryan Dagel, founder of the International Ratical Rod Build-Off Drive-Off Championships. Bryan shares how he took an idea and transformed it into this popular and growing event. For more about Horsepower Chrome and Rust and to listen to the entire show, visit us at horsepowerchromeandrust.podomatic.com. Now let's listen to this week's show.
My mind's out of gear and my heart's in overdrive. I've everything to fear. I ain't never been more alive.
Welcome back to Horsepower Chrome and Rust with the first half of the Windshield View. This week we're talking with the driving force behind the International Ratical Rod Build-Off, Bryan Dagel. How you doing, Bryan?
I'm doing really good. How you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Thanks
for
taking some time to talk with us. Now, before we go any farther, we want to make very clear that it is the International Ratical Rat Rod Build-Off, but it's spelled Ratical, Rat Rod Build-Off. So, first and foremost,
it's not a rat rod. It's not a rat rod. It is a ratical rod. This is the evolution of the rat rod into what it's developed into.
I love that. So tell us how you got this whole idea started. Give us the background.
Well, let's see. Back in 2014, I was with the Rat Rod magazine, and I went to SEMA, and we were hanging out with a bunch of guys there. Started talking about the rat rod scene really not being, brutally exposed at SEMA. Not a lot of them there. So we decided that the next year that we would put together a rat rod build-off, and we would all come to SEMA. Well, we had 3 contestants: Jason Gruel, he was one of the guys that brought up the idea; Sam Hard, and Kyle Wallman. Well, they all built. We all came to SEMA in 2016. They all built. Jason won the event with his rat rod.
Yeah.
But Sam Hard came in with a 1936 Rolls Royce that they had cut up. And this thing is an all-aluminum body, coach-built car, and they knocked it out of the park. I could not call this car a rat rod. This was radical.
Sure.
This is where it all came from. This was the next step out of the rusty rat rod scene into the next evolution of the rat rod going into radical, because I just couldn't call this a rat rod. This was a full custom car. I mean, they made a coach car out of it. The chauffeur sat in the front and the people rode in the back. It was a very nice build. So me and Jason both agreed that Sam, we hate to say there was a rat rod build-up, so Sam couldn't win it because he built the next step. It was way too nice to be a rat rod, so we went to the radical rod. Well, that summer, we all go back home. I get a phone call on a Saturday afternoon. My friend Jason, who was one of the main guys in this build-off who thought this up, had just died in a boating accident. And I basically said, this is over. It's done. I'm not going to be doing this. I don't think this is right. Jason, I'm talking to him. Give me a sign, man. Am I supposed to do this? Are we supposed to go on with this? This is on a Saturday. The phone rings on a Monday morning. It's Miller Welders. They want to know where they should be sending the welder for our awards for the next year's event. And I thought that was a sign from Jason that this event should go on. And this is the reason that I'm doing this is because Jason really thought that we weren't being represented there. And when we seen Sam bring that next evolution, the next step in the rat rod scene, we thought, man, SEMA will accept this.
Absolutely.
This is mind-blowing build. So we've been doing this, for 5 years now. And let's see, this year, this is our 5th year in the Radical Build-Off. We have 23 teams for 2020.
Very nice.
We started in 2016 with 3 builders. We did it in 2017 with 4 builders. We came back in 2018 with 7 builders. 19 was 14 builders, and this year is 23 builders.
That is just
We're getting traction.
Well,
getting traction.
We love to cover this kind of stuff on the show. I mean, we've spent some time talking with Kenny Earls and his KHRA team, that went to SEMA this year, the kids. And that car that they built was certainly not a rat rod. It was a fabbed up, custom piece. And, we're also talking with Kevin Martin, who does the RSC, which is a rat rod build-off. But, we like this kind of stuff because it stimulates the hobby. I mean, everybody sees something that maybe they can get a hold of. And, obviously I've been to your Facebook page and it's pretty exciting. So you got 23, you said 23 this time?
23 builders for 2020.
Wow. Super. So what's the criteria? What's the buy? What's the criteria for building the car? Under your particular guidelines.
Well, we basically had opened up the event now because if you go to SEMA, there's a few really nice builds, but they're not fitting in. There's no niche for them in the scene. We're taking the black sheep in, the people that are building this stuff, and then they're driving it in, but they don't really have a click. They're not a belly button car. They don't fit in with the rest of them.
Right.
Granted, it's a really nice build, but we're seeing these builders think out of the box, and they're cutting up some stuff. And we have two builders this year. Sean Puz, our returning champion from last year, and another team out of Minnesota here. They're doing coach build cars, literally hand fabricated, 100%. They're rolling out their fenders on English wheels, the whole 9 yards. They're planishing hammers. They've stepped up the game. The bar has been raised so high now that these guys in these smaller shops are capable of doing this incredible work. They just need a platform, a stage to be brought out to and to be shown to the world. And that's kind of what the Ratical Rod event is about. We're bringing builders that had never been known before, never been seen. They're qualified, they're capable, but their chances of getting the 15 minutes of fame they do deserve is going to be pretty slim. So that's what we're doing. We're bringing them out of the woodwork up here all over the United States, and we're bringing them to SEMA. They're driving into SEMA, which is another big thing. 1,500 miles from Lincoln, Nebraska to Las Vegas. Anything can happen on that road. You never know. So
well, it does.
Pretty exciting event.
Well, it's we like the small shops. We like the individual fabricators. I mean, Shane's got that background himself, and in fact, they have an English wheel up at the shop he was at, and he has an English wheel and he knows how to use it. Tell me about some of the other guys that are building. I'm speaking of Shane, by the way, Sean. We're going to have him on next week. Next week? Is it next week? Yeah, we already booked him, so we'll be able to talk about his car. But who else is building? And tell me something about their cars.
Oh, my goodness. I've got so many guys. We got Team Griffin out of California. Last year they did a Gremlin. His son Jacob did a Gremlin.
A Gremlin?
And he cut this thing up. A Gremlin.
Very nice.
Now, if you go check out, you search SEMA, this will pop up. SEMA puts out a magazine before SEMA. The 40 cars you should see, 10 of those vehicles in that 40 were ours.
Nice.
Wow.
They put a book out after SEMA, the 5 cars you should have seen at SEMA. Mm-hmm. One of those cars was one of our cars. So we did rather well.
Fully 20% or 25%. That's pretty good.
Yep. We got, we got Steve Barger out of Son of Finks Customs. They're doing first ever. They're cutting up a Mercury, a 50 Merc, which is one of the most iconic cars there is, a custom car. But they're making a sedan panel out of it, which has never been done.
Oh, wow.
That's nice. Yeah, I love those things.
So it's going to be a sedan panel. We got Team Montana. They're doing a Jeep Commando slammed on the ground. The team out of Minnesota, they're doing a full coach-built car. We got a kid out of Kansas doing a 70 Blazer, but he's stretching it over a newer Tahoe. So he'll have all the creature comforts of a new vehicle, but it'll look like a 1970 Blazer.
Square body. How is nice?
Yep. Very nice. We got another guy out of Illinois doing a 70 Bronco, but it's a rail. The wheels are out front. I mean, it's a rail.
And why wouldn't you do
that? These guys are just coming up with these crazy ideas, and everybody is not falling short. Everyone is hitting it out of the park. So, I mean, I got more if you want to know more. We got a guy with a blown metro rail.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, this reminds me of the cars that everybody grew up looking at in cartoons, magazine, and comics, where you would see just, like you're saying, a total, because it was an artist rendition, it would be chopped, flattened out, stretched out, you name it. And so the mind was able to just go anywhere you want to. And now it sounds like what you guys are doing is you're doing the exact same thing. But these are not necessarily, because I looked at Sean, and we're having him on next week, and his is a shiny car, so it doesn't have a $30,000 paint job on it. This is just beautiful sheet metal that's been bent and formed. So I wanted to ask about that. Is there a criteria of no painting? What does that work for? How does that go?
Our winner from 2018, Tyler Turton, they did a mid-50s Ford COE truck, but they made it a panel truck. And then they painted it. This thing was a beast. The Big Bandit, it was called. They did it in the Smoking the Bandit theme, and they knocked it out of the park again. This was a full-on painted rig. They had some flaws in the paint. They got some chips on the way down. We ended up in Laughlin, just outside of Las Vegas. They're cutting the car with 800 grit in the parking lot. We drive into Vegas.
Oh my gosh, Hank!
The next morning, they clear it 8 hours before it rolls into SEMA.
Nice, Brian. Hold the thought. We're going to come back. We got to take a break. We will get this on the other half of the show. Stand by.
You bet.
More horsepower, chrome, and rust after these messages.
This is Jerry Heasley, and you're listening to Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust, the greatest show I've been on in at least the last year.
Back with the second half of the Windshield View. Before the break, Brian was telling us about 800 grit sandpaper being used on a car that he got some nicks and dings
in the Laughlin parking lot.
In the Laughlin parking lot on their way to SEMA in Vegas. So pick that up. Pick that up right there.
Yeah, we're in Laughlin now. We're at the Pioneer in the front parking lot. It's midnight. They're out there with 800 grit knocking their clear down, and we have a shop lined up in Las Vegas. So when they roll in the next morning, literally, it rolls into the shop. They touch up the paint. They re-clear the entire rig. It rolls into SEMA about 6 to 8 hours after it's cleared. Wow. You want to talk about a long day? These guys busted their butts, but he won. It showed. The vehicle was so incredible. It's a vehicle that never was built. They did a COE panel truck. I mean, this thing was incredible. So Tyler is actually returning this year. I just got a phone call from him. He wants to build again this year. He didn't. Usually they come back the very next year and rebuild again for the next year because they're the world champion. Well, he passed on it. He actually landed. He went and shot a pilot. Reality TV came knocking on his door.
Super.
He went back to Canada and they shot a pilot for him. So they're fishing his pilot right now, and hopefully he does land something out of it.
What's the name?
He called me and
what's
he
his
wants
name?
back in. So Tyler Turton, Zombie Body Shop. Out of Manitoba. I'm sorry, Tyler. I'm going to screw up here. He's out of Canada. That's all I can tell you right now for sure.
Well, cool. Canada's all the same, so it's all right. That's cool. When you first said his name, I thought it was Tyler Durden, and I was taken back to Fight Club. I'm sure he's never heard that joke before. Well, that's cool. So who else is building?
Oh, man, I think I left off with Ryan Davis out of Oregon. He's running I think I told you, the blown Metro. He took a Metro and they stretched out the front end. They got a blown Hemi, an old, what the heck it is, 391, I think, Hemi that's going into that.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Lyons out of Maryland, he's doing a Phaeton, like a T-bucket, but it's a double. It's a Phaeton.
Oh.
We got Cody Paxton out of Michigan. They're doing a 62 Galaxy station wagon. This is a sleeper, but it's got a Power Stroke diesel in it, and they got it slammed on the ground. And it's a Woody to boot, a Woody wagon.
Is it actual wood or is it the fiberglass wood?
I don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to put an actual wood back on it, or what the deal is. I think it's 62. I'm pretty sure the trim probably wasn't wood.
God. You know, you mentioned a Metro a little while ago, and I found out something just the other day that I didn't ever know, and I don't know how I missed this one. I didn't have any idea that Hudson made a Metro.
Yeah.
They did. I had no idea. My wife has a Hudson, and we in the club, and you're getting all these, pictures and everything. And Hudson made a Metro. I wouldn't. You couldn't have proved it to me, but it's a similar company. I mean, Nash and Hudson and Essex and Terraplane were all part of the same group for a while.
Yep.
Hey. So what else?
We got Lee Bowles out of these down south down. I think it's like Kentucky or Florida. I don't have all my notes in front of me, but he's doing a crew cab Model A. They're literally making a crew cab Model A. Which
that'd be kind of cool.
They never had a Model A crew cab. So Chris Jensen is doing a pro touring car. He's doing a '63 Pontiac Grand Prix. I'm pretty sure it'll be a twin turbo LS monster. I don't believe he's painting that, but it'll be. I think it's a patinaed rig. Mike Short out of California. He's doing a 4x4, but he took a cab off an International Cargo Star, the big square cab, and he's going to put this thing way up in the sky. Oh, wow. And he's going to drive it into 1,500 miles. So
I want to hear about some more of these guys,
Gray.
but I got to ask you, you've got a whole bunch of people involved in this thing, obviously, and more and more every year. Is there like a central clearinghouse of who's Ratical and what this is, or is it just a group of people that are on Facebook and you're all agreeing to go at the same time? Is there a structure? Is what I'm getting at.
Oh yes, we have the structure. It's a structured event. Everyone starts January 1st. We build until November-ish, right when SEMA fires up. 2 weeks before SEMA, we show up in Lincoln, Nebraska. We have a pre-party at Speedway Motors. We eat, drink, and be merry, introduce each other, look at each other's rigs. We get a good night's sleep, and the next morning we take off for Kansas. And we do it a 4-day stretch, 1,500 miles. Every year we've had pretty good weather. Last year was cold. We had Australia and New Zealand came from down under, and they didn't have heat or wipers.
Ooh.
They had air conditioning. So I basically told them to turn the air on because the temperature we had was freezing, and I think the AC probably warmed up their calves.
No doubt.
But they were pretty shocked. They came from Cali. They unloaded in Cali, and they one through via Denver.
Ooh.
And they used to say when he got up to elevation, he spent the night.
I'm sure.
He couldn't get up.
Well, they come from Hardy stock in Australia, they.
Yep.
Jeez. So it
was a great.
What does it take to be one of the guys? What does it take to be a contestant, if you will, or an entrant?
We have an application that we send out. They inquire, and then we look in what they've done in the prior 5 years. We get a lot of guys that are have done just regular body work, have done nice classic cars and stuff, but they're looking to cut loose, and they're finally looking to reason that they don't have to listen to the customer. I can do what I want. And so these guys are stepping forward. We're finding them. When I was at Rat Rod Magazine for 6 years, I traveled all over the country. I met a lot of great people. And I'm still dipping back into that pot and pulling these people out who I think really deserve a chance to, get their 15 minutes of fame, build the best thing they can, drive it to Las Vegas. They want to get into SEMA, you have to have a manufacturer sponsor. So These guys got to step up. It's a business part. You got to go in. You got to sell yourself to that manufacturer. Get their product, apply it to your vehicle, and then drive it in to SEMA 1,500 miles. But then the manufacturer can stand right by that car and says, that's my product. It's proven. It just drove here.
Absolutely.
That's unheard of at SEMA. That doesn't happen.
Well,
we're doing it.
Well, I want to thank you, by the way, briefly, for every piece of involvement in Rat Rod Magazine. I was a subscriber since the get-go. I'm very sorry that it's kind of decided to fold it up because it was a great inspiration for the build that I'm doing.
It was.
Well, I want to step back then, talk to us about the whole sponsorship thing. So when you're talking about sponsorship, what are some of the products then that are being applied or put in?
Oh.
I mean, you think about brakes and you think about that kind of stuff, but what kind of things are you talking about that got this exposure and actually driven, which is, like you said, unheard of? Usually these are trailer queens that go to SEMA, and you're actually getting these guys that are driving across, hundreds if not thousands of miles and proving that their product works.
Oh, yeah. We're getting everybody. Actually, this is the very first year that we have had a manufacturer inquire about building. Cold Case Radiators have stepped up. They will be building a 72 F100 pickup, slammed, but it's going to have a twin-turboed Coyote motor in it, about 700 horse, and they're going to drive that in also. Stuart Warner has stepped up this year also. The gauge package, the vintage gauge guys, they have stepped up and gave everybody in the event gauges. If they wanted them, they got them. If they were headed out to somebody else's gauges, it was no big deal. But we're getting manufacturers that want to step up now and see their product used and driven because it's kind of unheard of. We're getting everything from undercoat, from lizard skin to electric emergency brake setups from E-Stop, from solder weld to TKO clamps. I mean, we're getting everybody. The best place to land your sponsor when you go into SEMA is go into the new products division and basically pitch what you're doing and see if there's anybody in there that has a product you can use in your build. And these guys are hungry to get their product on the street and proven. They're new guys at SEMA, so they want to get their name out there and their product out there. And these guys we've had dozens of them step up, come out of the woodwork, and they all want their product used. So it's been a good thing for both the builders and the manufacturers. So it's a win-win both ways.
Yeah, well, it's just marketing 101. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, I mean, these guys, where else can this happen? Like I said, I don't think this event has never happened. There has never been an event like this. We are the new proving grounds for new product going to SEMA. or just a new product in general. It doesn't have to go to SEMA even. Just we test your stuff. You give us your stuff, and our boys will beat the crap out of it for 1,500 miles on the way to Las Vegas, and then stand there and brag about your product, about how good it is.
Hard to beat that.
Now, when you go to...
It's a good thing all the way around.
Now, when you're going there to SEMA, do you guys rent a space? Is it given to you? Do you have a special place that's off the floor? How do you get your rigs to be seen? How does that all work?
That all comes in on a sponsorship deal. You have the builders themselves have to go in and sell themselves and what they're building, and then the manufacturer will grant them an inside spot in their booth, or they have the option of buying an outside booth for like $400, and then you can be displayed outside.
Sure. So you're like in the Stuart Warner booth, perhaps, or...
Pardon?
So you're like in the Stuart Warner booth if you're using their gauges, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. You bet. Yep.
Oh, that is
we've been really lucky enough that Jeff and Meg from Flat 12 have stepped up, and they've let us use the Shell stage. Shell has a big stage there. We've been doing the awards out of there for every year now, our fifth year, and they've been so gracious to let us come every year and do it. Steve Mank has been helping us do the awards, emceeing for us, and he's our interviewer on the road. He's actually going to Detroit right now, and I think he'll be interviewing one of our builders over there at the big show. I think Autorama isn't this weekend, but I think it's next weekend, but he's over in Detroit. And
super.
We're getting guys that actually are coming out of the woodwork who from the industry that are stepping up to, hey, this is really great. We got Gene Winfield patting us on the back. Actually, Gene was on staff the very first year. We've been giving Gene staff shirts every year, and there he is. He's rolling around SEMA in his little scooter thing with wearing a Ratical Rod shirt, and that just makes me grin because he really enjoyed what we were doing. We were bringing it full circle, he said. Basically, he back in the day was one of the guys that made the car show circuit take off, and he was kind of, helped the trailer baby be born because they were such nice show cars that weren't driven. He was so happy to see it come full circle, guys building and driving into SEMA. He says, that's unheard of. He says, you guys are bringing full circle. Thank God we're driving them again. So
now, is there any kind of a specific cutoff year for these rigs, or can it be pretty much anybody wants to bring any year in of a vehicle?
Well, that all comes down to the test again. We got to look at what your rendering is and what you're actually building. Like I said, Bradley Gray out of North Carolina, he's doing this Zion this year, that little square Zion. But if you've ever heard of Blower Mafia,
sure,
the blower is higher than the roof. I mean, it's usually twin turbo, double stack blower. They're over the board. So we have, like I said, we have shops, upper end shops like Bradley Gray, and then we have these smaller guys working out of their own, single stall garages. It's a David and Goliath type of a deal, where you can come in and where else can you come in and you can compete against a guy who builds six-figure cars all day long? But you can come in and you can, win.
Literally park right next to him and,
and the passion to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's what the hobby started off as in the first place, is just the idea of, taking a car and making it your own with whatever level of skill you had. And, thank God for that, because here's our entire industry, in a nutshell, and kind of going back to the beginning.
Yep. Full circle it went.
Well, what I like...
I'm really happy that we're getting more builders finding us, and more manufacturers finding us. So I do believe for in the future, this is going to be huge. This is going to take off big.
Well, I think what is really unique about it is the fact that you've got the component of actually driving to Nebraska. That's your central location, and then
we leave out of Lincoln, Nebraska.
You leave out of Lincoln, Nebraska, and the next thing you know, you're driving to SEMA. And again, that really, and then you also have a build time where you're starting at a certain date and you're finishing at a certain date. So it's not like you get 6 years to build this rig.
Nope.
You're actually getting to build it in a specific time panel. So I think that alone sets two things apart. You got to drive them, and you're doing it within a date time frame. So that really
a 9-month time frame.
Yeah. Shane, do you think it's something you could do if you had the money?
Oh yeah, it's always on the money.
Yeah, it is. You need a couple of good sponsors, is what you need.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the key.
Well, we'll be looking for
is
some
there
for the
something,
show. Yeah.
Brian? Is there something on your wish list, some kind of car or some sort of build that you really like to see somebody give a try?
Oh, man, these guys have been stepping up with these coach built cars, and I mean they're pulling the stuff out of their head, and it's just amazing because I've been doing body work. I've been in the cars for 26 years full time. This is what I do, and I've cut and sawed and on all these cars for so many years, to see something fresh that has never been done before, like this 50 Merc sedan delivery. This has never been done before. And you got to have big balls to do something like that. You're cutting up a Mercury, the most iconic custom car there is, and then you're making a sedan delivery out of it.
Yeah, it better be good.
So, that's just it. So, I mean, these guys have the passion and the drive to stick their neck out and build the best thing they can do and go bring it to SEMA and take the criticism, but take the glory, too, because there's a lot of guys patting you on the back. So,
well, if you're going to cut up a Mercury, I mean, a sedan delivery is a pretty good deal. A dual cowl sedan delivery Mercury would be... I'm just letting that out just in case somebody, feels like they want to take that one on. I love those old things, the dual cowls.
Yep.
Well, I think what I like about the whole thing is you said it's been going 5 years. This will be the 6th year then that you get your.
No, this is our 5th year in 2020.
Okay. And you're getting a lot of traction, and it's only growing, and we're going to be putting the word out for everybody, of course, and. You guys gonna have to do some self videos along the way and get those up on a channel and
we know you're gonna link all of this stuff on your Facebook page and I'm sure you're doing YouTube as well. We will link to it, of course, if you don't mind, and
no problem.
Gratefully steal all of it and promote it as big as we can.
And we got a long list now of people to bring on the show.
That's right.
I will be getting a hold of everybody. So where do people go to find out more about this again?
RadicalDriveOff.com. That's our website.
Yep.
Drop us a line there, and you can, if you're looking to build, drop us a line. Send us some info, who you are, your email and stuff, and we'll send you back a questionnaire. You can fill it out. Send us some pictures of what you've done, and tell what you're thinking about doing. And if we think you got the mots to pull it off, we'll invite you in.
All right, Brian. Hey, thanks.
Stay right here for more Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust.
For more about Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust and to listen to the entire show, visit us at horsepowerchromeandrust.podomatic.com.